In today's Leeds news, Tanaka's future in doubt, new manager grave verdict, Joseph exit to be sanctioned, Justin impressed with dressing room accountability, and rumour mill story on Yanis Begraoui. Morning folks, welcome to the Leeds View news for Thursday the 9th of April. Hope you're all having a really good week so far. Hope your day is going well. We've got a bit of stuff to get stuck into. What was a light news day yesterday has been followed up by a pretty impactful news day so far today. It's still pretty early at this point. Just want to remind you, today's video is sponsored by Saley by NordVPN. It's an eSIM app that helps you to keep your costs down on your phone when you are traveling abroad. There is details down below in the description. You get 11% off your purchase if you use the code LeedsView in the checkout there. You can check that out if you want it. Also, before we get stuck into news, just congratulations to Barry Douglas on a very good footballing career as he called time on his playing days yesterday and has retired from playing football. A major part of Leeds United's promotion campaign under Marcelo Bielsa as well. So congratulations on a great career, Barry Douglas, and enjoy the break that you'll now get having hung up the boots. Right, let's crack on and get stuck into today's news. We'll start off with the breaking news this morning around Tanaka's future. I did not think we'd be coming back to this story as quickly as we have, but there's a breaking news story this morning, and it appears that Tanaka's future at Leeds United may be more in doubt than we might have thought from the stories that had come out during the week. It appears that there's more than just interest in the player, which was reported last week and again yesterday, and it seems that there is a desire from the player side as well, maybe to move on this summer. According to Florian Plettenberg, who is a very credible journalist, he says that Tanaka is open to leaving Leeds United this summer with his preference to stay in the Premier League. Now, Plettenberg says that Freiburg are very interested in the player, but he also goes on to say that Tanaka's preference is not to go back to Germany, is to stay in the Premier League, and there is interest from Premier League clubs. Plettenberg's tweet reads as follows: Tanaka is open to leaving Leeds this summer. He is currently leaning towards a move within the Premier League. Freiburg are also interested, although they are not his priority. If LUFC are willing to let him go, a potential fee could be in the range of 10 to 12 million euros. That's roughly 8.5 to 10-ish million pounds, if you want the conversion on that, as of this morning. And it's a ridiculously low fee. It's the same fee roughly in around the Leeds will be looking for Joe Gelhardt playing in the Championship this season. And given what Tanaka did last season for Leeds and this year, that's an incredibly low fee, if it's true, and it is an if at this stage on that one. But there's some issues on this one and why this might be complicated. Plettenberg, as I say, is an incredibly reliable source on news. He rarely gets things wrong when he does put information out there publicly, but he's clearly got this information from somebody, and that might be coming from an agent, and I'm just speculating by saying that. But if it is the case that it has come from an agent, agents that have leaked things about Leeds United players before, like Charlie Creswell, like Willie Gnonto, haven't ended particularly well. Not just from the player's perspective, but Creswell from a Leeds United perspective. And Daniel Farke will very likely be asked about it today in his press conference. And if it's upset him a little bit, and if there is some actual meat on the bones to this one, then it's the wrong time of the season for this kind of stuff to be coming out, and Farke might not be happy with that. And the other concern is if there are Premier League clubs that are interested in him, Leeds could be losing a player to a rival or a side higher up the table who's capable of playing in the Premier League, just because he hasn't got enough minutes this season, and Daniel Farke hasn't rotated this squad enough, and he hasn't had enough minutes this season. Tanaka has been grossly underutilised, especially since the turn of the year. He's one of the few midfielders that we've got who has more dynamic aspects to his game. He can defend, he can block passing lanes, he's good at ball retention and moving the ball left to right. He's a tempo driver, he has goals, he has creation in his locker. He's a good all-round central midfielder for Leeds to have, and not a player you want to be losing in the Premier League. Now, it would be a big loss if he was to go, and it would show the lack of rotation of a squad will upset players, and they will look to get minutes elsewhere. You see plenty of teams in the Premier Leagues with very deep squads, but they rotate them. Players come in and out and they get their minutes and they're happy enough with that. But when Tanaka has had a run of minutes in the Leeds side, he has shown that he is more than capable of playing at this level. He has had a huge impact at moments this season, outside of the FA Cup, the Chelsea game at home being an example as well. And it would be a big loss for us. And if you look at the comment section on Plettenberg's tweet, opposition fans are crazy keen to get Tanaka in. And a lot of comments read as, just go and get him. This is mad that he's not playing football. So it's not just Leeds fans that see the ability in Tanaka. It's opposition fans as well. And you would hope that this stuff does get sorted. But if this is a genuine leak from an agent, and again, I'm speculating, Daniel Farke might get the hump with this. And if Farke gets the hump with a player, that's usually it for them. So unless the club decide to step in and say, do you know what, no, he's not going anywhere, and we'll review the situation in the summer. But Leeds don't have to sell. He's got time on his contract. They can dig their heels in if they want to. They have to get a fee if they decide they want to sell him. But 10 to 12 million pounds or even less than that is way too low for a player who's had a massive impact for Leeds United last year and this year at parts as well. So we'll have to wait and see, but we'll move on for now. Let's talk about Harry Gray, and he's back playing. He's over his hamstring issue. He's back at Leeds for a couple of days to sort out that. And he's had 2 games under his belt. He's had a draw last weekend, and he's picked up another 90 minutes, unfortunately, with a defeat away at Port Vale for Rotherham. But he is back playing, and he's playing under a new manager. And it was always going to be interesting to see how he adapts to playing under a new manager, and how a new manager who didn't bring him in initially would utilise him in their squad. But so far, so good. It's been all good news for Harry Gray. New Rotherham manager Lee Clark is said to be delighted with what he has seen from Harry Gray since he has joined the club, and he's described him as a special player, something I think we all are very, very aware of. But speaking on Harry Gray, Lee Clark had the following to say. Harry Gray, what a special player he is. He's only 17. Some of the touches and some of the flicks were amazing. He's got an awareness and a desire. He's got some career to look forward to. It's really good news to hear another manager's perspective on Harry Gray. We know Daniel Farke's thoughts on him. We know Scott Gardner's thoughts on him. We've had Hamshaw's previous manager's thoughts on him, and now Lee Clark as well. So it's nice to get all that feedback on the player. And from Harry Gray's perspective, it's good to get another coach to work under at such a young age. It just adds different aspects to your game. Different coaches and managers view football differently, so it just adds more elements to what he can bring to his game. So that's been really good news as well, and very, very positive start to life under Lee Clark at Rotherham United. So well done, Harry Gray. Fingers crossed this continues. Let's move on. Sticking with young strikers, let's talk about Matteo Joseph again. And there's some more news coming out about this morning, although this is very much still in the rumour mill territory at this point, so I would just advise you on that. But Team Talk today are reporting that Leeds United will sanction an exit of Matteo Joseph this coming summer. Joseph has managed just 4 goal contributions in 29 games in La Liga so far this season for Real Mallorca. There's plenty of time left in the season for him to get more of those. He's already got an assist last weekend, so he's playing under a different manager as well, so you might be seeing a slight improvement in that area. Team Talk say that Leeds will look to sell the player this summer, and there is interest in Matteo Joseph from La Liga clubs. Now, Team Talk say that despite Leeds' feelings that Joseph may be a bright star for Leeds United in the future, they are ready to sanction his sale this coming summer. And that could be down to a couple of different reasons. There's a possibility that the player is pushing for the move away from the club and doesn't want to come back. We obviously heard his comments recently where he said he's very happy in Spain, and why would he want to leave somewhere where he is very happy? The agent might be involved in this as well. And also there is the possibility that Leeds want to avoid a situation like last summer where the player is not around the camp and it's a bit of a distraction. Just cut your losses now and move on. If the player doesn't want to come back, then you have to look at selling. And if there is interest in him, you move him on. But 4 goal contributions in 29 is not what Leeds would have wanted in terms of increasing his value this summer. But if there is interest in him and teams can afford what Leeds will want to sell him for, we'll have to wait and see. But as I would say on this one, it's coming from Team Talk. This is very much rumour mill territory at this point. We'll see what happens with this one. But he is likely to be one of the players that Leeds will look to move on this summer, should they get a valuation that ticks the box. Let's move on and talk about James Justin. I think James Justin has been one of the bigger success stories of Leeds United season so far this year. And when he arrived from Leicester City, we were told by their fans that he was on the slide, that he was injury prone, and that he wasn't the player he used to be. And all that we have seen in a Leeds United shirt is a very capable, very adaptable defender with very strong leadership skills. He's been fantastic for Leeds when he's been called upon this season in multiple positions. He's a budding Stuart Dallas in terms of his adaptability within that Leeds squad. But Justin has been speaking to the official Leeds United podcast and says he was more than impressed with the dressing room that he walked into, specifically how they hold each other accountable for what they do over each game. And he said that that's something he hasn't been used to seeing. Now, Daniel Farke has spoken an awful lot about the Leeds United dressing room. He's talked about the character in the dressing room and being careful about what players they bring into that dressing room that could upset the balance. And we've talked this year about this squad showing the ability to bounce back from bad results or from going behind in games and having a backbone to carry that Leeds United shirt. And the comments made by James Justin kind of backed that up a lot. Speaking to the Leeds United podcast on the dressing room, he said the following: the kind of squad they've built, everyone says it's a good dressing room, but it's also not one where you can say something to someone and they take it to heart. I feel like that's a good thing. When you look at the squad, and what they've recruited this summer, they've gone for real certain type that's going to help them this season and beyond. And as soon as I walked into the dressing room, I was a bit bewildered because obviously every team is different. The way they operate day to day also took getting used to. And I felt that everyone just got on with it, whatever the job was, and everyone held each other accountable to maintain this on and off the pitch. It's definitely something that I wasn't used to before. I genuinely think that insight and a bit of a peel back of the curtain to look behind the scenes from James Justin is massively important and great to see because it does back up an awful lot of what we have thought so far this season. It's interesting. The accountability factor alone is absolutely massive. I was lucky enough when I played for Newtown Rangers in Dublin that to play in a side with who had that level of accountability and really pushed each other. We won a Leinster Senior League treble there. There's a fine line though between holding each other accountable and a dressing room just being a dick. You know, there is that line between the two and you've got to get it right. But if you do get it right, it genuinely brings success. Now, success is relative to whatever your goals are in a season. And for Leeds, it's staying in the Premier League. And so far, so good on that. And fingers crossed that that continues. But he's been a fantastic player. It does show his character in that dressing room. And it does show, as I say, that they have got a backbone to carry that shirt and that crest, hopefully over the line this season. Not just in the league, but maybe in the FA Cup as well. Who knows? We'll move on to some rumour mill territory and some interest in a striker. This report has apparently linked Leeds with a player. And I'm saying a big apparently on this one. It's an interesting one, but I don't know how credible it is, but I'll give you the info and we can, have a chat about it in the comments afterwards. But according to a report, Leeds will send scouts to have a good, strong look at Estoril forward Yanis Begraoui. The report claims the Leeds officials are due in Portugal to watch Begraoui play in the game between Estoril and FC Porto, and they claim that the striker is a player that Leeds United will have a strong interest and focus on this coming summer. He has been described as a very versatile striker. He scored 18 goals in 25 league starts and has created 17 big chances. Now, he's only got one assist from those 17 big chances. But the fact that he's creating those chances is a real interesting point as well. And that puts him in the top 11.5% of players in his position this season. So it's interesting. But does he tick the normal recruitment boxes that we've seen Leeds go for, especially from a striker's perspective? Well, not exactly. But there's an interesting point to this. We'll get to it in a second. He's 5'9" in height, so he's less than that 6 foot plus target man bracket that Leeds have been looking at. He's 24 years of age, so he's not in that 26 to 28 bracket that they've looked in historically. His contract runs until 2028, so it's not a shorter term contract. There's still a little bit of time left to run on that one. But he is described as a 2-footed player, which is an interesting attribute to have as well. Now, the interesting part of this is he's not in that mold that Leeds have looked at as another Calvert-Lewin Meche competitive player in that area, but he is close to probably the Troy Parrott mold if Leeds were seriously looking at Troy Parrott, and there's serious interest in him from AC Milan this summer as well, and PSV Eindhoven. So maybe it's a second profile of striker that they could be looking at, again, if this is even slightly true. But he's got plenty of goals for a player at a very young age in Portugal. His creation looks decent as well, and if Leeds decide to move on Joe Peru and Matteo Joseph this summer, maybe Leeds look to bring in a different profile player with a more target man orientated player. Lucas Meche will only have 1 year left on his contract. Leeds are obviously aware of the injury CV between Meche and DCL and having someone else in that area in case the worst case scenario happens. Hence why they look for Strands Larson in January. But if they are looking for a different type of profile, maybe with a 2 up top, maybe he is one they look at. But it's an interesting one. Interesting young player. Plenty of goals in him. But again, massive pinch of salt with it. Just again from where it's come from. We'll see if any reports come out of Leeds being in attendance and watching them at the weekend. Anyway, that'll be it for me today, folks. Massive thanks as always. You can check out the podcast out later on tonight, which will have the final set of predictions videos from some of the other Leeds United content creators around the place. You can check that out later on if you want to. And I'll be back tomorrow with your Leeds United news. Mind yourself. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.